Hey y'all, this is part 1 of the texturing tutorial. In this part, we're going to be doing the silver version of the mag, like seen in this reference here. This was what I'd already done on a live stream on Twitch, just for fun, and it's a little unfinished at the moment, but we're going to basically restart it and start from scratch. So let's go ahead and start that now. So I'll go ahead and take everything I've worked hard for and just throw it in the trash, and then we'll start all over. Go ahead and make a new folder. There we go. Now, so this thing looks like it's kind of a raw metal. So immediately when it's we think raw metal, we drag the diffuse to black, and we bring the specular close to white. So not too bright, but somewhere around right here, I think could work. Move that up there so you can see it. Around there could work. Okay, that's good for now. Let's get the base roughness going, or the gloss rather. So we can kind of get a look at how this highlight reacts, and we can kind of see. I think that's a good start for now. That's going to be heavily modified in the future, or worked on in the future. Okay, so let's go ahead and... Oh, one thing I was going to do, so... This thing looks like it's a raw metal, but there's something about it that kind of doesn't feel like it's a perfectly raw metal, so I'm going to take the diffuse and actually bump it up just a tiny bit so that it's not pitch black. I'm gonna go pretty dark, but not exactly pitch black. This is kind of breaking PBR. Like a lot of clients and stuff won't like this stuff because it's not compliant with their rendering pipeline or whatever. But for portfolio purposes, I think that's fine. One thing I am gonna do is I'm gonna mask just the mag. We're not gonna be texturing these bits yet. I will be texturing these. And I think that's it. I think I'll texture this as well. Actually, no. I think I'll texture that when I do the base plate of this thing. So just to make sure that we're staying a bit organized here. Okay. I already have my symmetry set up, so that's very nice. And then we can go ahead and start detailing this thing. So one thing I will say with spec gloss workflow, working on a raw metal like this, we don't do a lot of stuff in the diffuse. Let me grab a stencil here. Just grab your assets. I'll grab one of these guys here I got from textures.com to go down. We don't do a lot of stuff in the diffuse. It just doesn't come out right. Let's if we turn this up, it just doesn't really look right. It doesn't really react the way it's supposed to. So what we do instead is we kind of just work in the specular. So I'll go ahead and remove that. So with the other mags that we're going to be doing, there's a painted metal version, and that one is going to be all in the diffuse, where this one is going to be all in the specular. So I think that gives us some good variety to work with. So looking at the reference, let's look at some base graininess values here. So we can kind of see some brushing. If we zoom in real close, we can see vertical brushing here. See quite a bit of that. One thing I'll notice is it's kind of sporadic, so I guess we can try some anisotropic brushing. So we add a black mask to it, add a fill, and grab the, where is it? It's the anisotropic? Anistropy? I forget what it's called. Yeah. We'll grab this guy. We'll hit it with a triplanar projection here. Oh, if this error ever happens, it's because you're projecting on like two different models. It's weird. It's a weird bug, but just bring it up here while you're doing triplanar. Do this. Scale it down to about, it's quite small. Let's go about there. Texturing in 2K, by the way. Let's mess with some of the noise. So there we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, we can just have this be subtly in the gloss, I think. We don't need... One thing I'll notice about this thing is it's quite smooth. It's pretty smooth. All of this sort of detail just kind of looks like it lies a bit in just the gloss, but... Go ahead and grab a sharpen filter. Just drag it right there. Quickly do that. Then I'll just have it be subtly in the gloss. I think that... take the gloss, maybe we'll go down with it. Cool, just a quick little effect we got there. Next I have a few materials that I went on Adobe's, what's it called? Adobe Substance Material Share, whatever. Okay, so let me just drag in right here. So I have these materials that I went on Substance 3D, the Adobe, like sort of a material share website, and we can go ahead and I think it gives you some of those free. I'm not too sure. One thing I would like to do right now is actually make a dirt generator and subtract it out. That actually gives us a nice breakup, and then it also removes it from here, which I don't want it in there. Cool. Then let's get one of these materials in here. Grab this DMD metallic fine. And then we'll notice the super harsh seam, so that's an indicator that we need to triplanar project it. There we go. One thing you'll notice is that this material, we need to just turn off these materials, or these channels, just have it be in the normal. Is this material actually comes with a little bit of brushing, which is kind of what we want. So we'll go ahead and rotate it 90 degrees. So this material looks like it's breaking our normal map. Let me see if I can really quickly just sort of do that. Huh. Okay, so I went ahead and actually changed the material. So I went with this metallic powder paint material, and that one doesn't break the normal. So if you notice the other one, it like changed the entire normal map to purple, which is not good. It's not sure why the material was made that way, but so we're gonna go ahead and increase the scale quite a bit to get that nice little bass noise in there. We'll rotate it. You'll notice that it kind of like tiles right here, so we'll just rotate it. Cool. I want to make sure that this thing stays relatively smooth, but also looks like it has a bit of texture to it. I'm gonna see what the height looks like on these. Drag the height down slightly, and then maybe drag the slider down ever so slightly. Something like that. I think that could look cool. Okay. One more thing with the height that I'll do is I'm gonna add a couple of details. I'm gonna add this pillowing effect right here. That one's pretty easy, I think. We can just do pillow edges. Oops. We'll go ahead and just try an edge generator. Really quickly take out the grunge. And we want to get it to... I don't think this is what we want. So the edge is grabbing the cavity, but we want just outside of that. So we'll grab actually a UV border generator. There we go. That's exactly what we want. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a paint and then hit it with a multiply so we can paint in where we want it. Go ahead there. Let's go ahead and just do a quick hand paint. I don't think, maybe a tiny bit here might actually look cool. Other than that, just want it about here on the top as well. Paint out some of this. We had symmetry on, so we gotta paint this back in. This also allows us to kind of do this. and paint out some areas so it helps add breakup to it. That's always nice. Go ahead and break that up a little bit. All right, let's turn off the colors. We'll just slightly raise the height and add a filter. See how a blur filter looks. Looks pretty good. Toggle it on and off. Nice, we get that cool pillowing effect. I like it. I like it. That looks great. Maybe just paint out some softer areas where we don't want it. That looks nice. Great. While we're at it, let's go ahead and add some detail to it. Oh, so this material has diffuse glossed speck on it. We don't want any of that. Yeah, we just want it in the normal. Doesn't look like this material comes with any control over how that works. Go ahead and increase the scale just a tiny bit. So one quick thing I just noticed is with the blur, blurring over a UV seam gives you this terrible, ugly looking error. It's like a UV seam thing. So one solution to mitigate this is use a new filter that's, I think, can be purchased on ArtStation if you search 3D blur. And this filter is amazing. It basically just does it without having the issue of UV seams. So we get the same effect, but we don't get that really ugly UV seam right there. So that's if you really I'd totally recommend this 3D blur filter. I'll leave a link to it in the project file somewhere. But yeah, I don't think it's too expensive either. It's just, I don't think it was much, but yeah. So blur versus 3D blur looks much nicer, and we still get our nice pillowing effect. So, all right, let's move on. Let's go ahead and add these cavities. So, we're gonna start doing some more work on the base material. One thing I will do is I'm gonna shift this slightly towards yellow, the specular. Take the specular, shift it slightly towards yellow. Ever so slightly. If you want to color pick it, it's right there. Cool. Let's go ahead and add that blue cavity. I'm looking in these edges right here. It looks almost like it's dark blue in here. It's probably just bad lighting or something, but we're gonna go ahead and make it blue because it looks cool. Let's try and color pick. Color pick this some of these blue values maybe. No, that didn't quite work. Let's go blue like that. Actually, that should be in the specular, not. Let's go ahead and leave the gloss. We'll make the gloss a little more rough. Then we'll go ahead and add a dirt generator just to quickly get those inner areas. Reduce the grunge amount. Take the specular. Just keep it subtle. There we go. Let's go ahead and see how this looks. What? I had the wrong file set up, so go ahead and export that, and we can go ahead and preview it in Marmo. And yeah, not much, but we're off to a good start. We got the nice blue highlights in there. I like it. Looking cool. One thing I noticed that the brushing on this side is going the wrong way. I'm gonna go ahead and just sort of paint it out. Just a nice soft brush. No. I'll go ahead and paint out this section too. I don't want brushing here. I just want to leave the brushing on the this face. It adds some nice think it'll add some nice contrast if you have areas that are not brushing. However, I think on the front I want brushing, so we'll go ahead and just duplicate this, remove this paint, rotate it 90, just like that. We'll go ahead and add a paint on top of that, where we can go ahead and deselect some of that stuff. And then I think that should all line up perfectly. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and start detailing this thing. I have these images stenciled for you to use if you so desire. Let me bust one of those out. So let's start with, I think some oil. Actually, let's start with some spec detail. Dark. Okay. All right. So I have these stenciled. Let me find it. Project. There it is. This is the first one. Right here. Ooh. So we can literally just paint these straight on there. So we're symmetry right now. These are pretty obvious details, so I don't think we're going to symmetry these. But we can just do some of this. And it's super easy detailing. Watch out for projection errors. We can maybe even reuse some of these details here. I don't think that scratch is going to look very good there, though. Okay. So, it doesn't look quite right just sitting like that. I'm going to add a sharpen filter. Just a tiny bit of sharpen. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and make this oil, actually. There, now it behaves a little bit more like it should. Export it, see how. Okay, so leaving it in oil. Looks pretty good for now. Oops, there we go. Let's go ahead and get some of these bigger stuff going on. Let's just get, let me grab another stencil maybe. Let me try this one. This one we're actually going to do on the other side. Be rotated like that. Look at these nice fingerprints like that. That's cool. Oh, we don't want this. Do want this one though. Yeah, just like that. This detail right here is quite strong. I'm gonna lower it quite a bit. Just lower these just a tiny bit. Don't want them to stick out too much. Cool. Go ahead and duplicate this layer, add a black mask and a fill. And let's just get some like basic grunges going. Again, I'll use my grunge fingerprints dry. This is just a super easy one to get stuff down. I'll go ahead and take this dirt generator, subtract it as well. Nice. One thing I'm noticing that I think I forgot to do is these edges are nice and wavy and like chipped up and stuff. So let's go ahead and try that now. All my normal stuff is kind of down here. We'll do edge warp. And I call it edge warp because I'm going to use an edge. This sort of effect of just random lines and grainness, that comes perfectly with a warp filter. Grab an edgeware. Super easy to do. Go ahead and turn the grunge amount down. Set it to multiply. I want to paint it on these parts. I want to go pretty strong. There we go. Okay, and then let's get a filter. Look at that. There we go. Turn up our source tiling a bit, turn down the wear a tiny bit, maybe add a levels on top to get a bit stronger. And let's take the height, actually take the gloss and the height, so we can kind of get a 2-for-1 kind of thing going on. Take the gloss and the height and bring the height down. So right now it's a little strong. Go to the height channel. Turn it down just a touch. Maybe turn down the warp filter. Turn the intensity to 100. Okay, something like that I think could work. Though in the references I think it's a little stronger. We can always tone it down. So it should be something isn't right here. What's going on? I had the wear turned down too much so the multiply wasn't working. We'll go with that. We'll turn on the warp. I want to paint out a little bit of this. Right here it looks great. Right here it looks great. Right here it's not looking too great. The best look. Maybe turn the height up just a tiny bit more. Okay. I think I need another one. I think I do need another one. And the reason is it's not getting picked up all the way. So I'm going to get one more. But I'm going to add an anchor point here. Then add a fill here. Then in this fill, we're going to grab this edge warp mask and we're going to subtract it. So we get kind of the opposite of this mask. Yeah, there we go. Cool. And then I want this to look good. So we'll go take the wear level. So about right there. That looks great. Quick water break. All right. We've got all that pretty good. Let's watch out for a little projection error right there. Where did that come from? Came from this layer. Paint that out. Brush up. There we go. This projection doesn't matter. This projection matters a little bit here. Okay. On the whole thing, I'm going to take the gloss down a tiny bit to about 0.54. Yeah, that looks great. I think that's a much closer result to what we're looking for. Cool. Looking good. Okay. One thing I'm going to try actually is I'm going to take this brushing layer. I'm going to have it be in the spec as well. Just to give it some more, just to add another detail to the specular channel. Be super subtle. I don't think that we'll see that much. Okay. Yeah, that looks good for now. That looks good for now. We should break up these a little more. They're just too strong as it stands. So let's go ahead and grab the height. Take the edge warps down a bit. Looks like they're... Okay. Let's just tone them both down. It's good enough for now, I think. One thing we want to avoid, like the plague, we want to make sure this specular detail does not go into the cavity. Also, this is an error right here. That's not supposed to be there. Okay, this as well isn't. Oops. Yeah, it's just not quite realistic when like a fingerprint goes into the cavity. So just one other thing to keep in mind. Add a bit more here as well. Okay, let's do a bit of work in the gloss. So I'll get a subtle grain gloss going. And all that does is just uses a bit of the Perlin noise, 3D Perlin noise. Simple, simple, simple. We'll go ahead and actually, I think just normal UV should work, huh? Oops. Keyboard bugged out. Still too small. Crank it up to like 50,000. There we go. And this actually gives me another idea of another detail we can add to this thing so far. We'll go ahead and I want to make sure that it's contrasty enough. So there we go. Now we can see it. And let's bring this below the edge warping. So this is actually this actually needs to go down here. I should have done this earlier, but you can see it just kind of adds some noise to the highlight. Cool. So we'll do that. And then one thing I will do is I'll grab the spec grain. There we go. And we'll add some grain to the specular channel. And dark is fine. The dark value is fine. And we'll just very subtly crank it. Give it a rotation. An offset. There we go. So it's different than the grain gloss. So our specular channel now looks like that, and that looks cool. Let's do a couple things. You'll notice the edges are higher, or a brighter value than the metal there. So let's go ahead and do that. Just bring it to a white value, maybe. I'm gonna grab. We can try an edge generator for now. I want to paint out some of these areas that are just too perfect. Brush a little bit. Go. It's always a good idea to be careful when using generators so that things don't look too uniform and perfect. Because uniformity is not what these guys are. Let's take the gloss down on these. I think that gives us a cool effect. It makes the effect a little more noticeable, I think. And I think that's pretty good. So you can see the cavity map that I baked out has the already done ZBrushed details that's in the bonus part of the tutorial. Cool. Seems to be some sort of an error right here. Let me see if that's on my end or if I need to rebake. Let's go ahead and undo these. Undo all these layers. Looks like it might be in the bake, so I'll probably have to go back and fix that. Okay. Let's go ahead and start adding some crazy stuff here. So we can really start detailing this thing quite a lot. Okay, we've got quite a bit to do. I'm thinking. Okay, let's just get some dirt down. Let's make a folder. Let's try to keep things a little bit organized. Let's put most of our gloss stuff in here. Let's make this a dirt layer. Just drag the gloss down to almost a very dark value. We'll add a fill. We'll give it like a grunge, leak dirty. Do the subtract out of the dirt cavity again. Okay. Be careful using stuff like this because it looks kind of cloudy. I want to... Oh, I was using the generator, sorry. Okay. Just fill there, maybe rotate it a tiny bit, get a cool shape going. Okay. Pretty cool. Let's go ahead and start stenciling in some of this stuff. I think that'd be cool. I'll grab the good old... I think I'll grab the good old jerry can here. Maybe actually I'll grab this one. This one came from textures.com fuse box, from a fuse box. That's pretty cool. We'll go ahead and set this to linear dodge add. Go ahead and just paint in some of these dirts. That looks pretty great there. One thing I am gonna do is I'm gonna put quite a bit down here along this edge. Let's paint some of this out. Turn off the diffuse on it and just have it solely be in the gloss. Maybe even... Yeah, I think that's fine actually. Maybe a bit down in the specular too. I think that'll look cool. Let's go ahead and see what we look like. Okay, we gotta fix that stupid stencil anyways. You know, that's not bad. I think we'll stick with that. Make sure we don't neglect this side of the mag. Okay. I'm gonna add a cool detail. I'm gonna add sort of a really a lighter speck on the top layer here. This is gonna go down to sort of the base layer area, but we're gonna do that. Then I have this really cool stencil that I made for y'all. Go into the project and we find this one right here. Stanagmag 07. This one has a pretty cool detail that we're going to capture right here. So go ahead and just do this, paint it on both sides. That works. Excuse me, that works. On this side, let's make sure that we're breaking things up so it's not uniform on each side. Paint this out right here. I'll add like, I'll have it just come right here. I'll have this extend sort of right maybe here. Cool. Check that out. Gives us a nice worn, aged effect here. So front of the mag got that sort of stretching here. So we'll go ahead and just try patching up that stencil with some of this stuff. Nice. That looks great. Have it be slightly less as well. Then let's softly paint out this hard edge here. I don't want that. Doesn't look that great. Let's see how it looks. Okay. It is quite prominent. Yeah, that is very prominent and a little too much. Super subtle, just like that. I think that should look great. Go ahead and take down the gloss on it. Constantly exporting to check our work. No, that's not glossy enough. How about we bring this gloss up and we'll bring the base down just a hair. Okay, that looks cool. Let's go ahead and add some of this noise in the middle, or in these cuts here. So we'll do that down here. Maybe duplicate this layer. We'll add it. Let's go ahead and softly paint it in. Okay. Take the height down on it. It's a little too uniform what we have here, so we'll take, oh, this is the normal that we're working with, so we want the normal. Turn down the normal. Not quite getting a good result on it. Maybe if we add, if I added a warp to the normal channel, that actually kind of worked. Yeah, that actually low-key kind of worked. Okay, not bad. One thing I am noticing is that it's still pretty glossy in there, so I think a cooler way of doing this gloss, instead of just turning up the blues gloss, would be to do like a cavity oil. And for this, we can get a really cool stencil. We can probably just use, I don't know if any of these stencils will cut it. I think we can just use the jerry can, I think. We'll do this. Obviously, we need to turn off these layers. Gloss, there we go. Yeah, most people would, my stencil is not going away. Ah, I plugged it into the wrong thing. That's strange. Huh, okay, interesting. Most people will probably put like dirt in here, but I think oil might work a little bit. I think no, this isn't working, and I think what we need to do instead is get a bit sharper with it. And for that, I have a cool stencil that I like to use. We'll try this. We'll try this one. This is from textures.com as well. It's like a medical crate or something. I'm gonna drag this out because I'm gonna kind of use a 2-for-1 here. I'm gonna take the specular, bring it up. Take the diffuse, put it down to raw metal. And these will be these tiny scratches. I got a little carried away and started making some pretty small details, so add these little chips and scratches in here. Maybe some on the outside too. It's not gonna hurt anyone. Go ahead and paint out some of this so it's different from the other side. Then replace it with something like that. Let's see how this. Let's go see how this looks. Not bad, not bad. Not bad at all. I think they're just too long and a little awkward looking. Okay. The specular, one thing I noticed is that this looks quite fake, so we're gonna lower it even more. There we go. Subtlety, I think, is the key to that particular detail. So let's go ahead and add some dirt into these crevices. I know we said we were gonna do something else, but see what happens. Set this to linear dodge add. Let's go ahead and do that, and then let's add a fill. We'll grab that dry fingerprints. Kind of my go-to for anything related to breakup. That's in all libraries. Here. Set it to multiply. You can have it be a bit darker in the specular, that's fine too. Or maybe it's not fine. Yeah, it's not fine. We want it to be not in that specular. Looked a little too fake. Gloss was a bit too strong on him. Okay, one thing I think I'm gonna do is add a bit of yellowing around the border of this thing. So I'm gonna take the base, drag it more towards white. Cool. I'm gonna add, go ahead and duplicate this, and then drag this to the right. Get that yellowish going. I'll add a generator. Whoa, what is that? Cool. Added it to the wrong layer, I'm sorry. Need to make a black mask, then add a generator. Maybe just slightly tint it here as well. Okay, it adds a nice little subtle, tiny subtle little glow. Go ahead and drag this above the grain gloss layer. One thing I noticed, it's getting kind of greenish. We need to go more towards orange. Let's see how that looks in the render. Okay. This effect is still coming off really strong, and I think it's because the gloss is less on it. I think that's why it's coming up. So let's go ahead and just take the gloss, bring it down to about the same value, I think. And also maybe set it to set the gloss to overlay. Now, one thing that changed was the grain gloss got pretty strong. We did not adjust accordingly. So we'll just tone it down a tiny bit. Okay. Okay. Uh, I'm gonna paint out these details. I don't really like these. It's too cheesy. I'm just gonna keep the subtle stuff, but we're just gonna remove some of these larger chunks. Okay, cool. Let's grab. All right, let's go ahead and grab some of David Gruier's grunges. These are just the absolute best. I'm gonna go ahead and grab some hairs, maybe. Let's try hairs deposits. After I duplicate this, add a black mask, add a fill. Now we can grab that. This one looks pretty good. This one looks pretty cool. It's got some nice hairs and scratches. Nice, however, it's a lot of gray in there, so we gotta do a levels. Tone it down. That's quite a lot of hair. Okay, yeah, it gives some tiny scratches in there. That's cool. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. One thing I will do is I'll take this same layer just to recycle a little bit. We'll actually pump it out in the height. Then we go down here, we take the height, and we slide it down. I think that looks quite great, so we'll just keep it at that. Let's get some details on these edges. And for that, I'm going to grab a lower spec. This is a nice long edge right here that we can use. Cool. Nice. Go ahead and lower the specular. Color pick it. Go ahead and lower it a tiny bit. What happens if I take it down in the height? Does that look cool? Not quite. Actually, maybe just even 0.0061 in the height. That looks decent, I think. Go. Nah, don't do that. That looks pretty bad. Maybe a scratch right here look fine. Yeah. Nice stenciled in edgeware. Love that. Cool. Okay, we're getting there. let's go ahead and export this, see how it looks. Okay, so these are super strong. We need to tone those down quite a bit. One thing I'm noticing is it's really flat. It's quite flat all around, and I think the gloss is just too low. I think it's too low. Go ahead and up the gloss just about there. The grain gloss layer is quite strong. Let's tone it down. Let's have the large speck detail do that. Yeah, let's have it do that. Okay, let's turn down the gloss on the edges. I'm sort of I did a UV border generator around here, didn't I? Ah, yeah, the base layer down here. Let's go ahead and use the gloss on that. Okay. Okay, so the gloss was just looking way too cheesy, so we'll turn it back on, but we'll lower it down here in the opacity, take it down quite a bit. Okay, let's take make a new folders so I can keep track of some of this stuff. And color code it red, and then we'll color code the gloss blue or green, whatever. We need to lower the brushing. Its gloss is way too strong. There we go. We're looking much better already. Yeah, feels much more like a metal now that we increased the gloss quite a bit. Okay, let's take let's add some finer details now. I think we're ready to add some finer details. Oh. Diffuse up here. Want to make sure we're matching the PBR of the magazine's base here. Okay. Let's add some specs here and there. We could use David Gruyer's grunges are so good for this. He has so many different spec with little specks here and there. Oh, yeah, this is just perfect. Take out all the grays. Leave some gray in there. But let's paint them on where I want them. Some on the front as well. Cool. One thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna chew up this edge right here a little bit. So I'm gonna go down here, get, call it edge chew. Turn off the symmetry. We'll go ahead and just grab, this can be super basic. We'll just grab an edge generator. We'll go right here is where we want it. Let me just do that. Add a slope blur with a moderate intensity. And then take the gloss and the height. Make the gloss a tiny bit less. And the height, we'll just chip it. Just a little bit like that. And we could actually go in and paint our own. So we didn't get enough down here, so I can go ahead and just paint in my own. Just like that. While we're at it, let's just paint in that too. That looks alright. Just paint in that too. So we already have sort of the chipping up here, but we can see what it looks like if we add more to it. Not bad. Hardly noticeable, but it's there. Okay. Honestly, this metal edgeware generator did not do that great of a job here. So we're gonna have to kind of get a little creative with it. Awesome. One thing you'll see is these little hairs right here. Like these little almost dense hairs inside of here. So let's go ahead and get those too. Cavity hair height. One thing I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna grab the blue cavity. I'm gonna anchor point it, add a black mask, add a fill, then grab our blue cavity anchor point. Then we're gonna add a fill on top with a multiply, and we're gonna grab one of David Gruyer's hairs. Oh, that one doesn't look quite right. This one? Yeah, we could try this one. It's a little uniform, but actually, yeah, it's too uniform. Let's try a different one. Oh. I like this one. I'm gonna try this one out. Go ahead and do that. Set it to multiply. Multiply. And punch it out in the height. One thing you'll notice is we have a bit of gray value in here. It's not doing a whole lot, but I noticed the blue cavity got here. That wasn't really my intention, but it, you know, it kind of could work. I'll add a paint, a subtract layer, and just paint it out like halfway. It adds a little bit of variation to it, you know. Why not? I want to try adding a warp. I think that's nice. Helps break up the uniformity of this. Pretty quick and dirty, but I think that works actually. So now we've got these little micro splatters going on in here. Oh, and one thing, I do not want the blue cavity inside the mag. So we want to remove it here. Let's go ahead and do. I think I can just try this. Okay. Don't want the blue cavity to just cake everything inside there. All right. Sweetness. Sweetness. Let's see how these look. They are a little strong in some areas. Yeah, so we'll need to manually just paint out these stronger ones. This guy's right here. Oh, I already painted that out. Okay. This one right here. Oh, little guy right there is a little too strong. Take a look at the other side. A little over here. We're a little too strong. Do that guy too. Okay, and that's a cool little detail we just added. Let's get a little more micro detailing done on the specular. Let's make a white specular. See what we can do with this. Have it be in the gloss too, make it like middle glossiness. Let's try that. Let's see what we can do with this. Oh, I didn't turn on the specular. Quite looking that great. Not terrible. It's not great. Let's try this. Actually, no, but I do have another idea of something that we could add. We can add, if you look at the reference carefully, it has like this sort of like bluish sort of stain to it. I don't know what it is, but we can go a bit blue. We can color pick some blue. We can add a paint layer. We can maybe try to get some blue in here. Make it nice and big. Looks alright. It's also a free detail in the gloss that actually kind of works pretty good, actually. That's nice. That's actually not bad at all. Let's go ahead and add the same thing on the other side. Switch up the stencil so you can't notice. Put that right there. I want to paint it out of the cool stenciled details that we got. I want to paint it away from those. Down there. There. Cool. That looks pretty good. Okay. Now, one thing I did notice in the references, we could see this nice spot right there. It'd be really cool to like exaggerate this. It might just be like harsh lighting, but we can try to exaggerate it. We can actually take our white speck layer that we have right here, and you know, honestly, this stencil should work. Yeah, cool. Let's see how that looks in the reference or in the render. Looks nice and worn. I like it. Up here, that is. It looks nice. We can add some more closer to the top. The reason being that the top of the mag is very, very, very used, so. I'm sure that'll look fine. We'll just try that out. Let's go ahead and add some of these darker oils. Let's add more of those. We're kind of lacking in that department. Yeah, we just have a couple of localized spots, so let's go ahead and find that that dark speck detail that we did. That'll look really dirty, but it might look cool. I love this stencil. This is one of my OG stencils that I always use back in the day. You know? Ooh, one thing I am noticing is that the edges look pretty grainy. So I think after that I'll add that. After this I'll add that. I can imagine things getting pretty dirty right here. It's not like neglect the front. We've been neglecting it, I won't lie. Is there a better view of the front? It's right here. Whenever you have a scratch like this, I cannot stand them. So we're going to find out where I did that. And remove it. Scratches that go to straight over something like that. No, 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 I hate that. I think it looks terrible. Okay. Let's go ahead and add that grain to the edges. That's a pretty cool detail I think we can add. We do that, add a black mask, add a generator. Oh, I was like clicking on it wrong, but that's weird. Then let's add a paint to multiply it and paint it on where we want it. Which is just on, turn on symmetry, these edges here. And this edge right here. Let's turn down the generator a bit. Get some of the grunge in there. Let's take it, let's scale it up. And then let's add, I want to try one thing. I don't use this a lot, but I want to try a blur directional. Blur it downward. This needs to go, crap. This needs to go over here. You know, that kind of looks cool. Hey, That's pretty cool. Change the intensity and change the source tiling. You just mess with some of the tiling here. You know, I think I'm gonna go with this actually. It's a nice like dented look to it, and then I can go ahead and just sort of paint it out the Oh, actually, paint it in a bit stronger. I can try to paint out some of the uniformity. Gives some like nice dented edges. It looks kind of cool. Might look a bit much, but let's see. Okay, yeah, it's just a bit much, but I think it works. It looks cool, and it sort of makes sense for something that's old like this and been, you know, tossed around in battle. One thing I'm seeing, ooh, some nice chipping here. Check that out. Let's add that. Didn't notice that before. I don't think I did that on stream. Let's grab that spec value. Oops. Metal ware. Okay, let's get a stencil. Let's get the jerry can. Doing metalware. Can't go wrong with the jerry can, dude. Oh. Okay, had to pause there for the train going by. Alright. Cool. So the specular here, I think we want the specular to be a bit brighter, more towards the gold. You know, the blue and the gold kind of contrast nicely. I think it's pretty cool. That's my color theory lesson of this tutorial. Try something. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Add a small sharpen filter. Then let's ding it in the height. Ding it downward. There. Looks pretty shiny in the reference too, so we can do that. I don't like all this chippy stuff going around it. I just want one sort of gash in there. Yeah, then maybe like one supporting detail for it. If I'll take a scratch right here, maybe. Sweet. And then let's go ahead and remove it on this side and replace that and move it maybe up here. Oh. I have this nice scratch right here. We can try that. Sure. Actually, I already have a lot of scratching up there. Let's try right here. Sort of paint over that scratch that we have there. Sure. Paint out that so it's a little different than the other side. Same here. We can go ahead and add a big scratch right. See how that looks. See what that looks like. Quite cool. That's what it looks like. We need to paint out the denting on this side. ahead and rename this. Yeah, it's just part of it is not working, but part of it is working. It's hard to explain. Just leave it subtly there. Oh, I see what's going on. The filter is different on two sides. It's different on both sides, so um oh man, this looks great along this edge right here, so I'm gonna keep it. However, I need to duplicate it, add an anchor. Just do, honestly, we'll just do this. It's just kind of just cheap, but we'll just paint it out on this side. Paint it out right here. I think it's the same thing going on here. Yeah, like horizontal instead of vertical. We'll just paint it out here. Then we'll have this one and paint it out here. You could do some anchor pointing and subtracting, but yeah, I don't care. Yep. Blur directional. Change it to oops, something wrong there. There we go. Cool. We're gonna have it subtle on this side, but yeah, even here it's pretty subtle, but we're looking good. We're looking good. See how that looks. Okay, we need to remove it here. It just does not look good right there. Okay. There's a lot of these little tiny little hair scratches along the edge here. Let's go ahead and add that. And that's, just grab this detail. We'll call it spec edge scratchy. Add a paint layer. I don't want this. Wood actually has a lot of pretty good scratches to it, so this is part of that wooden crate that I got from textures.com. Go ahead and symmetry this is fine. Yeah, that didn't look too great. Try another stencil. Ooh, this one looks nice. Turn down the specular on it. You can see this was like a medical crate because it has that little red cross on it. That's pretty cool. Okay. One thing I'm noticing is that the gold, it like cuts off right here. And I think that's because the way that this magazine fits inside an M16 is it fits like right there, and then the rest hangs out on the bottom. So maybe this is like sun damaging or something. So we can try to like, we can kind of replicate that a little bit. We're not gonna go too crazy because honestly it might just look kind of weird. But we can try to do like I don't know what they call this, just override or something. I don't know. Let's grab the jerry can. We're gonna do a kind of a big thing here. Um, excuse me. That's a diffused. Ugh, stupid. We're getting it spec loss. I always get confused which channel I'm like looking at. We can kind of do that. Subtle, very subtle. That's fine. Turn off everything. We don't need any of that. We just need the specular. Remove it from in these cavities. Okay, let's see how that looks. I'd say this detail is probably optional if you wanted to add it or not. You don't really have to. Maybe even just, you probably even just add it on one side if you want to. And then you can render the other side and it'll give some nice variation. But it looks kind of nice. It looks some nice silver, and then it goes to the gold. I think that's pretty cool. I want to see what it looks like if I punch it harder towards the gold. Nice. That looks great. We want to make sure we get some nice colors, nice colors in there. One thing I noticed at the top of this is that it's pretty worn. So originally we had a lot of dirt there, but we can change that to. Actually, we can use the spec override layer. No. Cool. We could try even add a little. I love this little shape right here. I love this thing so much. That just blends in the other one. I wouldn't even bother with that. Okay, then let's add this nice cavity dirt right here. We can do that. Let's try it here, maybe. So that's just a detail in the specular and then down in the gloss. I want to make sure that doesn't look too strong. That looks good. Actually, it doesn't look strong enough. Wow. A rare, not strong enough. It's too strong. Okay. We'll go with that. Let's go ahead and add one of these oils up here. I can just use my jerry can. Let's add him right here. Kind of just like this shape here. Mix and match some stencils here. We can grab the original one that I was using, this one. Kind of mix in this shape with it here too. It looks a little bit more authentic to what we're doing. Okay, so one thing I will say is we overlapped it right here and it looks bad. All of this stuff just kind of feels fake. Replace it with that. Something like that, I think. Let's get material separation on these bolts, actually, while we're here. Go ahead and grab another base layer, duplicate it. Grab all these little rivets, whatever you want to call them. Let's separate them out in each channel. So the gloss, bring down the gloss. Bring the specular maybe up to just like that. It's subtle, but it's there. Yeah, it's pretty subtle, but when I guess working in spec glass, it's a little hard to get like tiny separation in like metals. So I already have a bunch of stuff going on top of it, so not a huge deal. Not a huge deal. Taking a look at the reference or the render, and it looks pretty darn good so far. Quite done yet. So this stencil detail kind of came in just like very boring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of fix it. I'm going to add a paint layer with some of these finger smudges and just kind of paint in the like extra detail on it. Make a paint layer, set it to subtract. That's what I should have done in the first place. Set it to subtract, and then just kind of fix it up a little bit. Hi. There you go. We just get a quick glimpse at how that looks. This oil up here is too strong. This is too strong. This down here is actually looking a lot better now. I wonder if it's the gloss that's kind of messing with it. Hmm. I had the gloss about right there. This detail is just too strong. Oh, autosave while we're exporting, nice. Where did this come from? That came from one of our specs, spec layers. That shape was like too perfect. It was like weird, throwing me off my game. So one thing we've been neglecting is the gloss map. This is not looking great. So we can go ahead. What I like to do is just sort of turn on some of these values in the gloss. Wait, no. Did the gloss map just load? Well, that was looking. That was kind of strange. Gloss map is actually looking not bad. It was. Oh, I'm so dumb. I had this layer on. Okay. Let's make some finer specks of dirt here and there. I'm gonna grab some dry fingerprints, dry. Put them in there. Man, I've had a few blunders on this one, huh? Specks of dirt to help add a little bit of. Yeah, it's quite a bit to this. Specks o dirt. Then we'll add specks o oil. You can just kind of recycle it by rotating this. Bump it up. See how that looks in the render, because sometimes going too high on some of these specs doesn't look all that great, but yeah, so these were just a little bit too strong, I think. Go ahead and just kind of add a paint layer to it. Curious, what does that look like? Bad. That's what it looks like. This might look cool. Paint in some oil along this edge right here. That might look pretty cool. We need to fix it first of all. Looks like an error. This is not really digging what we just did there. I'll undo all that. Not liking this dirt here along the edge. Try something like this instead. Okay. One thing I did notice was that there's a lot of dirt down here, so we'll add that too. That's kind of like a reddish hue to it. We can try a couple things for that. We can add that to the specular. Give it sort of that reddish hue. And then turn the gloss down on it, and we get that effect quite nicely. Except we can like not have the specular like that. See how that looks? Nice blue and red contrast too. Look at that. Cool. Let's add that in a couple other spots. Okay. That's all looking pretty good. A couple things I'm going to try. Because if I look at the render, it looks a bit bright. So I'm going to try lowering the diffuse. Yeah, this is a bit too high, I think. We want it to be pretty close to that bare metal black, pitch black, but not quite on it. Do something like that. I think leaving this as gray will look pretty cool. Then inside these cavities, I want to increase the contrast. Excuse me. Let's see what changing. That did nothing. But let's see how it looks now. Alright. I think one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to tone down, if we look at it from certain angles, the specular gets really cloudy right here. I'm going to mess with that a bit. It also leaks over, I didn't notice that. I'm just gonna get the standard brush, load it pretty high. Just kind of brush out a lot of that weird stencil. I mean, it's not weird, but you know, just didn't look quite right. Doesn't help that the gloss is also kind of cloudy as well. Let's take a look at that. We must have added that somewhere else. See if I can find it real quick. Yeah. I think one part of it is the glossiness of this part up there. There we go. That kind of simplifies it a little bit. So it's not like super cloudy and annoying to look at. Oh, that helped so much. Okay. Okay. Not bad. Let's take our main camera. Let's check out the exposure is quite high. A nice high clarity, some contrast. We're in aces, by the way. Okay, let's look at some other references to get some more ideas of what we can add. I think we could use some more surface variation. Yeah, I think we could probably try that. Let's grab some of David Greer's DG. Let's grab maybe scratches. Oops, I gotta add a black mask, add a fill. Maybe get one of these scratches layers in there. Yeah, I think that's a bit much. We'll maybe go with this one. Triplanar it. Scale it up. Add a levels to it. And then dent it downwards. Take another layer on top of it, set it to linear dodge. We can get sort of a another layer for free there. Sure. One thing I always like to add on top of mags is I like to add some wear where it slides into the gun. So we'll get I really like this. It's a default stencil, but I really like the grayscale leaks. Super simple, just take like this brush right here, paint it in. Slightly in the height, maybe? Maybe? Perhaps? Yeah, you know, I think that's cool. It's not in any of our references, but you know, we're game artists, you know, we gotta make things look cool. We'll add just some unique on this side. Not too strong, not too subtle either. Varied up on both sides. Add a little long chip right there. Let's see what that looks like. That might look cool. You know, it's cool. It's not. I don't think it's strong enough actually. Go ahead and just add a quick little levels to it. Just drag this rear slider inwards. Actually, maybe just something like that. Although now we can kind of see some residual stuff that doesn't look all that great. A little too much. There's too much. Cool. Maybe add a touch right here. Who knows? Who knows? Okay, on top of everything, I think I'll just drop a quick little... Actually, no, I don't think I will. I was gonna say maybe a sharpen filter, but we're already at 2K with pretty decent res. I think we'll stick with that. One thing I did notice is that this side looks pretty complete, I think. This looks a little rough, but we got some nice stains going on here. I think it looks pretty good. I think this side gets a bit cloudy up here, maybe. I think we can actually just kind of remove some of this stuff up here. Yeah, I think we could just toss that. It was done right here. Really a fan of this cloudy stuff going on there. I think the dirt was also too strong. Okay. We just want like a subtle little dirt. I'm gonna add just a manual dirt add layer here. I'm gonna take let's see. Let's maybe just grab the jerry can, honestly. Bit too much as I paint in like a huge detail. Okay, so the fix we did on this side for the cloudy stuff didn't happen on this side. what I want to do is kind of remove some of this like kind of cheesy, stencily look to that. And that was done right here. This is a pretty important layer. I want to make it purple. Purple is cool. This edgeware here looked kind of bad. There we go. Clean that up a bit. Just kind of doing some final touches now, I think. We're in the end game. For sure, I think. We have our subtle brushing going on. We can maybe get a bit more detail up here, I think. For sure. Yeah, we can totally get more detail up here. This looks like just sort of dirt buildup up here. There is one thing I see. I see some yellowing up here. We can try to add that. Grab that. Oh, that was the diffuse, wasn't it? Yeah. We can use our jerry can. That's no problem. Sure. We'll lower the gloss on it, I think. Then we can get some of this dirt. Let's try to get some of this, see if this layer works. Yeah, this layer will do perfectly, actually. I'm gonna duplicate it. And then, no, that's just too much. I'll add a new paint. Bring this up. See the... Paint out so the soft brushed areas. It looks pretty fake right now. Blend it in nicely. Add some along here. Add some right here maybe. Or make sure we're doing different stuff on each side. One thing I'm noticing is that these little areas of specular detail here. I want to see if I can add this top yellowing detail. Let's see if I can punch that in right here. Make that look... no, I cannot do that. I'll go ahead and do that, but I'll take... put the gloss to about a mid value. Then we need to make sure that we add a black mask to it. Let's turn off the gloss. How about that? Take the specular, crank it down. It's a subtle little effect. Paint it in where we want it. Kind of like that. Try one on this side maybe. Admittedly, this side is looks a bit cleaner than the other. Okay, we're looking pretty good. I think I'm gonna add some micro scratches. Do that in, I think we'll use this layer here. Paint in some micro. This side could probably use a couple as well. Could definitely use a couple. And paint your own scratch there. That looks pretty decent. Okay. Another thing I'll add is a bit of brown, I think. Sort of down here, there's a little bit of like a brown hue that I kind of see, so we'll try that. That'll go in the spec details. Maybe just recycle this one, but we make it a little brown color. I think this we can probably just paint in, honestly. A little strong. Let's do that. Make sure that's noticeably brown though. Yeah, something like that. Cool. Sweet. Where is this little dot coming from? Okay. I don't know why, but that dot just, I did not like that dot. See how that brown looks that we just added in? Nice, looks kind of cool. All right. I had two shelves open. That's weird. Go ahead and make some changes real quick. I think maybe we do specular. We lower it a tiny bit, and then this large spec detail. Maybe we shift this more towards blue. Maybe. Oh, actually, maybe I just have this detail just be in the gloss, actually. Just do something like that. That looks kind of cool. Doesn't need to be, the specular kind of blows it out almost. Then we take this spec override. First of all, I think we needed some on this side as well. And we turn it towards the blue that we wanted. How does that look? Oh, autosave. That's kind of cool. We'll lower the saturation just a tiny bit more. I think one thing that's hurting us is we have too many of these kind of cloudy. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but they don't look that great. Yeah, some of these specular details are not looking that great. I think we need to honestly clean it up a bit, so go ahead and just kind of nuke some of these details. That one was fine. We'll nuke this up here. Yeah, this just doesn't look that great. Or it's too strong. If that's in the gloss folder. Oh, ugh, come on. Yeah, I think we just toss this layer, honestly. Just toggle it off, yeah. We went a little too crazy with it. That already looks much better right now. Yeah, that looks significantly better already, yeah. Let's clean up a little bit more. Dirt, okay, let's clean up the dirt. Maybe we change the specular just to lower it a tiny bit. So it looks a little flat in the viewport now, but in the aces tone mapping and the aces the render here, I think it looks a lot better. This right here is not looking good. What is this? Okay, so this got a little crazy here. That looks really bad. There we go. I'm a big fan of gradients. It might be a good idea to try something like this. Had a very subtle gradient to it. I'm a big gradients kind of guy. All right. I think the way that we're stenciling it in here looks kind of fake. Yeah, that didn't look great at all. I'm not sure what to do with this layer, honestly. Not quite sure what to do with it. Because on one hand I like it, on the other hand it's a bit tough to work it in. So I think I'll go back to square one. Maybe I'll just try it with this stencil. Because we kind of want to imply that the top of the mag just gets more worn. Which it just makes sense that we want to do that. We just do something subtle or like that. That's better. Still a little strong like down here. I need it to blend easier. And right now it's kind of hard to blend this detail in. And that looks good. Yep, I think that looks, that about does it. Make sure you get enough light on this thing or else it looks super grungy and bad. Okay. Try to get some more dirt up here like we saw in those references. Dirt up here. I'm gonna lose this detail. We see any of this? Increase the specular on it? Because I don't want to lose this detail here. That's better. That's a lot better. I think this will just about do it, I think. Let me do a quick once over and I'll come back. Maybe contrast it a bit more. Yeah, that gives us some free contrast, I think. If we lowered this large detail that we added, that gives us some more contrast. So I'm pretty happy with this, actually. This is looking pretty snazzy, I think. Go ahead and do one last export here. Get a good look at it. Looks snazzy. if you do decide to export these in 4K, it might look pretty cool. I don't like texturing in 4K because it's just not really like good practice if you think about it. Or yeah, I just don't find a lot of stuff that's 4K in games, you know, so kind of hard to justify spending time practicing texturing in 4K. I think it looks sufficiently dirty. Whoa. What just happened? Okay, so we're just about done. However, I'm gonna go into a bit more detail up here. There's some cool shapes up here that I didn't quite get to on stream, so on my my live stream. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do. I'm gonna grab some stencils for this. Let's take a look at maybe some of these from textures.com. Oh, I need to. Nope. Nah. Oh, who am I kidding, dude? Let's just do the Jerry. So this layer I'm gonna make some edits to, but it's basically right now it's like, kind of like an oil. Don't think that looks quite right, so we're gonna go ahead and turn up the spec on it, and lower the gloss on it. Take another linear dodge layer. Add some more. I think increasing the gloss on it actually gives us a nice highlight. Let's go ahead and do the same on the other side. Okay. I'm trying to decide if it looks better as dirt or an oil. I think honestly it looks a little bit better like that. Go ahead and duplicate it, add a black mask, and then make it dirt. Same sort of layer setup or properties tab. Give it some dirt. want to see something. Let's add a bit of damage to the height, actually. That's really cool. Mess with the levels a bit, get it to be kind of either black or white, I think is good. Okay, not bad. All right, I think that looks pretty cool. With that, I think I'll wrap up this episode here. Yeah, feel free to. I will actually include the project files for the other version that I painted on stream. Or not the but I'll attach screenshots of all the document channels in case you. I guess in case if you like this version better, it's a bit unfinished, but you know it's a bit of a cleaner look. But I'll include the document channels of this one on the pure ref file that I provide with the files, and yeah, so feel free to work off of kind of like copy this one if you really like this one. This one has some stuff better that I think did. This one looks more complete, but yeah. Anyways, in another part, we're gonna be doing the mag follower, the spring, which should be really quick, and then we'll do the base plate. I think that'll be in the next part. So, thank you.